Welcome to Autism Tips and Tools, where we highlight the best practical guidance from previous episodes of Autism Knows No Borders. Whether you're a self-advocate, a family member, or a service provider, there's something here for you. I'm Rachel Harmon, a professional in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. And the following clip is from my conversation with Thompson and Brandy Collins. Listen to them talk about their experiences as female Black American business owners in the field of applied behavior analysis, or ABA for short.
For me, my experience of being a Black woman in this field, it's been very interesting. It's been complex. I have been placed in situations where I need to upfront always start with all my credentials. And even when I have a credential, I need to explain. I feel very interviewed as compared to like counterparts that also are in the same field. So I feel a lot of pressure to make sure that people know that, hey, I'm very qualified. And in areas that are an area of weakness, I'm actively working to learn to develop those skills. So for me, I feel a lot more pressure to be a cut above, to be two steps ahead, to make sure that I'm always extremely warm and welcoming. I mean, literally, when you come in our place, we have a fireplace and it smells like baked cookies and all of these things, not just to make people feel warm and fuzzy, but just to almost put the air out like, hey, I come in peace. I am not any stereotype that's often out there about Black women or professional Black women. Like, I'm not an angry Black woman. I'm not a condescending. I'm not many of the stereotypes that are out there, I feel like I always have to wear this big sign that says, I come in peace. I'm a good person. I love the children. I have the education. And that makes it a little harder because then you can't have a bad day or you can't have someone said something and I give a quick response. I always need to be very measured in my response. I need to be very measured in my tone. I need to proofread my emails more times than other people do, just to make sure that there is literally no emotion in the email. And then now I'm to the point where like, oh, maybe it sounds so emotionless, you need to go back and put a little. So it's very balancing act of constantly feeling the need to prove the worthiness to be in the room that I'm in. And then constantly making sure that when I'm in the room, that people knows that I'm in the room as an individual. I'm not in the room representing a race, because I may have a human moment and I would hate for my human moment to be the representative of the race or representative of other African-American women in this field.
How does that feel for you?
Oh, that feels very pressured, overwhelming. I'm sure that that's led to a lot of my gastro where my stomach is, constantly in knots and I need to think or double think before I speak because, I definitely feel the pressure that someone's waiting for that gotcha moment, that gotcha moment. Mm-hmm. And as we can see, we live in as present times right now, we're living in such a counsel culture where like, oh, she did it, counselor. Find her job. Tell everybody we're done. And, I don't want to be done. I don't want to be counseled. Right. I don't want, I want to be able to talk and I want to be able to say, hey, such and such happened and this is my view on it and those things. And I feel muzzled in a large sense. I feel very muzzled or I feel like I need to be discreet in my support of endeavors, just to make sure that it doesn't ruffle any type of feathers. So it is very pressured. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal, what are your experiences being a Black woman in this field?
So the last couple of days, I've been trying to figure out if I know any other Black women BCBAs in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm going through like my Rolodex of people and I'm just like, wow, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of us in the field. I just recently found a group on LinkedIn. Hopefully I don't butcher their name, but it's Black Behavior Analyst or something like that.
Baba.
Bob, yes.
Yeah.
And actually tomorrow, July 1st, is their membership.
Yes.
Like when their membership. So I have it on my calendar
Yes.
to like jump on that, just because like I want to feel like a sense of community. Because one, like being a small business owner here in Jacksonville, Florida, and then having just a few, just a couple like employees, and then we're doing in home. So it's not like we've got that space to go to and like really connect with each other. You kind of feel very separated from the people that you're working with, because you're either in a car, you're at the house, you're then jumping over here. And it's just, I don't really have always that sense of community. And then going to people's homes, there's been times that have crossed my head, or thoughts that have crossed my head, like, are they going to see me as a behavior analyst, or are they going to see me as a Black woman walking into their house? Like, obviously they're going to see me as a Black woman, but what are they going to take away from our conversation? And, Brandy, I can attest to feeling like you do have to have everything in order. Sometimes when you walk, like I make sure my intake documents are completely together. It's just, I feel like I have to you do always want to put your best foot forward in any situation, but it's like she said, you kind of have to be well ahead of everyone else in order to feel that acceptance. One story I went to a family. It was my first time going to their house. The address was really weird, and I wasn't sure exactly where I was going. And I went a little further past their house. Like, their house was like off in the distance. Some trees were in front, so I couldn't see it because I wasn't familiar with the area. And I get to the house that's next to theirs, and I asked them, I'm looking for this. And they were very like, what are you doing on my property? What are you doing here? I'm like, I'm so sorry. This is the address that I'm looking for. And they're like, didn't you see the no trespassing signs? And I said, I apologize. This is the number that I'm looking for. Can you tell me how to get there? And they're like, just back up and go to the next house. And so when I pulled out of their driveway, I saw it because, like I said, it was way back in the cut. So a few weeks later, maybe like a month or so later, after my client's mom and I started to develop a good relationship, she told me that the neighbor came over there and was like, there was this Black girl that drove up into our driveway. And it was just the things, I'm not going to repeat the things that she said that they said, but it did not make me feel good. Where it was just a simple, I was like, I'm so sorry that they even had to say anything to you. I was looking for your house. I couldn't find it. She's like, I know our house is really hard to find when you're coming here for the first time. And so it's kind of like when I'm going to these houses, like, I don't want to feel like I have to. Sometimes I feel like I need to say, hi, my name is Crystal Thompson. I'm, calling you back about your inquiry for ABA services. And by the way, I'm a Black American. Like, so you're not surprised when I walk into your house. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult because there's just not a lot of Black Americans in this field in general. Not that I have encountered. Like, I've done like presentations at FABA, and I've gone to a couple other like conferences, and it always feels good to see someone that looks like me in the room as well. I've grown up around all different types of people, but it's just a good feeling to know that we're also breaking into a field that is helping so many different people, and that we can, I guess, change the narrative about the Black person in a professional setting, and then being able to have your own business. Because there was one place that I went, and they were like, oh, what company do you work for? And I said, it's my business. I'm working for myself. I'm independent. And they were just like, oh. And then carried on with their other conversations. Like, it was just, it's not always warm and welcoming. I'll put it that way. But then there are instances where I feel like my skin color and that part of me, obviously it's noticed, but it doesn't play a factor into where I'm at. And I heard something a while ago that says every table that you're sitting at, that there's a seat for you there. So this is the table that I'm at, and this is the seat that I'm taking. And
Yeah.
That's amazing. I was just going to add, Crystal, that one of the very first things that my husband, and I like literally I cried about this. It's just a fold out table. It's really nothing fancy. But to me, it was the most precious gift that he's given me, with the exception of our children. But he bought me a table. We were going to be doing a lot of vendor events when we first opened. And when he gave me the table, he said, you know, I bought you this table, my love, because I don't ever want you asking for a seat at someone else's table. When you show up, Miss Collins, you're going to show up with your own table. And I want people to come to your table. I was like, waterworks.
That's so sweet. Yeah.
So I pull that little table out every, where it's a folded table. It's like $20, but I love that little table. I go everywhere.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. Would you like to hear Brandy and Crystal discuss the stigma around autism within the Black American community? Follow the link in the show notes for the full conversation. And be sure to subscribe for more stories from people connected to autism, inspiring change and building community. Let's work together to transform how the world relates to autism. Thanks for listening. Take care.